Hey, what's up,
What's
guys?
going on? Welcome back. Episode
right.
3.
Episode 3. So
Number
this is
3.
episode number 3 of our
Mm-hmm.
Patreon exclusive Wrestling with Life podcast. This
Yep.
is where we talk wrestling with people who are involved in the world of professional wrestling but
But are
aren't
not wrestlers.
wrestlers. Yeah, very
Mm-hmm.
cool. So we've got a real exciting show today.
Yes.
Sean, why don't you tell everybody who we've got on today's
Super
show?
excited. We have pro wrestling artist and comic book manga artist and creator of the dreaded Dinosaur Man on Webtoon. We have Erik Hodson.
Hey.
What's going on, my man?
How's it going, fellas? Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for being on the show.
Yeah.
We've followed your work since we met at Hamburg, where I unfortunately didn't get, again, the Kane metal tin that I really wanted. I should have bought, but I didn't.
Yes.
But your artwork's awesome, man. I've been following, your work is crazy. First thing I want to know is how you got the dreaded Dinosaur Man rolling.
Oh, Dreaded Dinosaur Man actually kind of started out as an idea for another webcomic that I was doing back in 2009 called Chad the Fat Kid. And I wanted to reboot this old webcomic, just a regular 3-panel strip
Right.
about being a kid that gets picked on in school. And I was going to have this idea where he'd come up with his own cartoon. So Dinosaur Man was actually a cartoon within a cartoon.
Okay.
As I was building out the lore, I was like, you know what? I really like this. I'm just going to do this.
Yeah.
So I spent a whole year, 2017, writing all the material, and then started publishing it on Webtoon, and we're hoping to do a full print comic of it shortly.
Awesome.
So,
That's really cool.
Very
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
That's awesome.
thank you.
So let's kind of start at the beginning a little bit here. So tell us a little bit about how you got into the world of art. I mean, you do so much as far as art goes, but just kind of tell us a little bit how you got into the whole art scene.
Well, when I was a kid, they didn't have diagnosis like ADHD.
Right.
But it was kind of like the only way I could focus was just dreaming things in my head and getting them on paper. So I was drawing as soon as I could hold a pencil. My mom's got drawings of tractors that are just like circles with squares.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
From back when I was a little wee one. And it didn't help anything when my dad gave me his old comic book collection, so I just kind of dove into that.
Nice.
And for lack of a better term, comics were my safe space.
Yeah.
I can remember vividly, especially freshman year was very hard on me. That's kind of where the material for that Chad the Fat Kid came from. I was bullied a lot, and I would just make comics to deal with that anger.
Right.
And just kept telling. It just developed a love of storytelling, and that's what I like doing the most is telling stories.
Right. Yeah. Now, how does that tie into your wrestling fandom now? With comic books and wrestling, is it kind of like the same thing where it's like superheroes come to life?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've always kind of thought of it that way. You got the good guys and bad guys and all these elaborate costumes and going at it. So back in around 2011, 2012, somewhere around there, my all-time favorite as a kid, Bret the Hitman Hart, was coming up here from Motor City Comic. I wanted to do something special, so I was thinking Hitman, Punisher, maybe the first appearance of Punisher, Spider-Man 129.
Oh, okay.
And, that was the very first one, and it was a mega success.
Nice.
And the ideas just kept coming. We did the Hulk 181 with Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant.
Awesome.
The Fantastic Four Horsemen. Some of these, like this one here, the Phenom Undertaker Hell in a Cell match. This is Amazing Spider-Man 49, Death of the Green Goblin. I think it's 49.
Okay.
But they just make so much sense to plug wrestlers and storylines into these iconic layouts.
Right.
And there's so much overlap between wrestling fans and comic book fans, so people get 2 bits of nostalgia out of it.
Yeah.
It's such a genius idea to mix, the world of comic books and wrestling, because wrestling is like a giant comic book, and honestly, we watch these larger than life characters, and it's like watching a comic book come to life in front of you. It's so genius.
Oh, absolutely. And it resonates with a lot of the talent. I've made a lot of good friends with the people I've drawn. I've been able to meet quite a few different people over the years, some big names. I've become friends with Mick Foley.
Nice.
I'm working on his. This was the art piece that started our relationship.
Oh, okay.
He was actually at a signing with a friend of mine who runs a little shop in Poughkeepsie, and he had Mick in for a signing. Mick saw this, asked for my phone number, called me up, and then I started doing his posters for his comedy tour, book tour.
That's awesome.
He did one for his birthday, and then he's coming back next year with another tour called Greatest Hits and Misses.
Nice.
So I pitched him the idea of like him in the ring, like it's a stage, with all of this wrestling stuff being thrown at him.
Right.
You know, maybe there's other versions of him. Like we can't do the Mankind face because of WWE and all that. So we'll have somebody in brown tights with a tie getting hit in the face with a chair. You know?
Nice.
That kind of thing.
Oh, that's cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's just one example. You know, the latest thing. Oh my gosh. So we became friends with the Guns, Billy Gunn's boys.
Oh, nice. Nice.
And Austin hired me to draw something for his dad's 60th birthday.
Oh.
And it ended up being this big 18 by 24. I'll send you some JPEGs if you want to overlay the video.
Yeah, cool.
This big 18 by 24 marker and colored pencil illustration. And on one side, you see their grandpa watching them as young boys while their dad's on TV. And the other side, their dad in the recliner watching his boys on TV.
Oh, that's really cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, we made Billy Gunn choke up, and
I'm sure.
That's cool. Night.
Yeah.
That's
I drove down from here to Louisville to deliver it by hand because I'm not trusting the post office. No offense.
No, I get it. I get it, dude. I get it. Trust me. I know.
So I drove down there in time for Dynamite. He gave me his all access badge.
Nice.
I walked around throughout the whole show. I saw Dynamite, and then the Friday show, and hung out backstage with him for a little while everything was wrapping up, and it was a great, very special time.
That's got to be just a cool feeling that you're backstage with like the boys. Like that's awesome. Yeah. So, like, what were some of your favorite comic books growing up?
Well, I was always an Iron Man fan. Like, again, that kind of quasi, nerdy, picked on kid. I love the idea of hiding in a suit of armor that made me stronger.
Right.
So that's kind of why I gravitated to Iron Man. And on the DC side, I'm a huge Swamp Thing fan.
Ooh, okay, cool.
Green Lantern for DC. I was never really big into Batman. Unless it's the Tim Burton one or the animated series. Those I loved, but
of course,
everything else I could do without. But yeah, and most of the comics my dad gave me were Marvel, so Spider-Man, Incredible Hulk,
right,
Thor. You can kind of see some of the books back here that I collect.
It's a vast collection.
And then there's the fun, obscure stuff like Magnus Robot Fighter.
That's awesome. Nice. That's great.
Which is a beautiful, beautiful series. Takes place in the year 4000.
Oh, God. Wow. Okay.
That's awesome.
But there's all sorts of cool stuff. I'm a huge Godzilla fan, too. Like another one of my favorite things is this is Godzilla drawn by Herb Trimpe, who was the artist on the original Marvel book in the 70s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a cool piece.
That's cool.
So, of course, I'm looking forward to the new movie coming out this weekend.
Of course.
Yes.
Oh, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Man.
I have heard nothing but great things about it.
Yeah. It looks really, really good.
Stuff,
yeah. Did you watch
kind of stuff? Is really
Did you
cool.
watch the one from 2000, and were you a fan, or did you thought it was awful?
I've watched every single Godzilla movie several times. I'm
okay.
Okay.
Well, because I was a huge fan of that one. I remember that year it got kind of trashed. I'm like, no, this was a great movie. I loved it. I loved it.
No, Kaiju is just like professional wrestling. You're here to watch monsters knock buildings.
Yeah, exactly.
They have Kaiju Big Battle where they set up a wrestling ring with fake cities and stuff, and people are in giant costumes.
We've been talking about that recently.
Yeah, we've been saying how we have to go to a show at least once because it looks like so much fun. So much fun.
It certainly does.
Yeah, I really regret 2019. I was down in Louisiana and I didn't go to Kaiju Big Battle because I was exhausted. It was WrestleMania weekend. It was WrestleCon.
Right.
I went to the ROH show.
Okay.
And after that, I was just dead tired. And the Kaiju Battle was starting at like midnight.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'd be exhausted from that. Wait, so you went to Mania 35, right?
I've never actually been. Well, no, that's not true. I went to Mania 23.
Okay.
That's the only Mania I've actually been to.
Okay.
Cool.
Because that same weekend I was at that ROH event, and I think that was the same weekend of Mania. So me and my ex-wife went to Supercard and then Mania the next day.
Nice.
Yeah.
Supercard was very impressive. I'd love to go to Mania again, but it's just like the tickets are so expensive.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've been to some of those midnight Mania weekend shows, and they are just killer.
I bet.
Yeah, I mean, on top of everything else, that weekend, and then you're going to a midnight show.
Yeah, right.
About it.
Just true.
And next year we got Philadelphia for WrestleMania.
Oh yeah,
I'm so excited.
I plan on taking off the whole week from work. Screw it. Screw
Cool.
it.
Yep. Gonna do the whole week because there's gonna be. I mean, they're announcing stuff now, and every time I turn around, I hear something else being announced. And there's just so much going on because Philly's such an epicenter for wrestling.
Oh yeah.
There's just so much going on in the city and around the city that, I mean, it's just gonna be madness trying to pick what to go see that week.
Oh yeah.
There's just gonna be so much cool stuff going on. But it's very exciting to finally get another WrestleMania close to us.
Yeah.
Like that, because it's been long overdue for Philly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, so you still collect comics today? Still a thing for you?
I do, unfortunately, for my wallet.
Listen, being a collector is not, it's not the most money accessible thing to do, but when you can do it, you do it.
Yeah, well, I'm a big proponent of collecting the things that bring you some joy.
Of course.
So I'm not a completist by any means. I don't need to have every single issue that there exists. I don't need every single toy, but I pick and choose the stuff that's really my favorites.
Right.
Sure.
And try to focus in on those.
Do you have a favorite from your collection?
For a comic, I would say that's probably Iron Man #1 and an 8.8.
That's awesome.
Wow.
That's so
That's
cool.
impressive. Yep.
That's amazing.
Definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And, I'll probably never get the 39, but I do have a 40 in pretty nice shape.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow.
That's great shape. Wow, that's cool.
That's really neat.
And then a lot of other odds and ends, like the Magnus Robot Fighter that I showed you. It's another big favorite of mine. And I don't know, I'm into a lot of other weird stuff. Like I'm a huge Black Hole fan. You remember the Disney movie?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Black Hole, yeah.
there's a rare issue #4 that came out in a set of they put out all the comics pre-polybagged.
Okay.
And most of them had the first 3 issues, which cover the movie. Issue 4, which is only in a very few rare amounts of polybags, is the sequel. What happens right after the movie?
Okay.
And it's bizarre stuff, and it was canceled right after. So it's a hard one to find. So I'm on the lookout for that one.
Yeah. If we come across it, we'll definitely reach out to you, and you'll be the first to know. So, where do you go to find your collection? Like, do you just kind of go to random places, or do you like search for it like online, or do you have like a plan when you go to find these like different editions?
And there's several books that are like the key books that I want to own. So I'm always on the lookout. I'm always searching eBay. Of course, one of my best friends, Darren Watts, he's got all of them in his massive Fantastic collection. And if you go to sellingsuperman.com, you can watch the trailer for a documentary film coming out about him, about the collection.
Oh,
and I'm in it.
Cool.
So yeah, a lot of fun stuff there. But his books are super nice, and therefore they're more expensive. So
Of course. Money.
I'm kind of on the 4 and 5 range with my finances.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
I got you.
But
So
yeah, no, and it's really cool. I love hanging out with those guys. We were in San Diego to announce and do some filming out there, and that was a blast. Just seeing all the stuff. I found I'm a huge Red Sonja fan as well, and there was a page for sale with 3 different versions of Red Sonja on it. It was from I want to say it was a page from a Savage Sword of Conan, in which Frank Thorne was drawing himself as a wizard in the page.
Right.
Gosh, I wanted to bring that home so much, but it was 10 grand.
Oh, Jesus.
boy.
Definitely out of your price range. Definitely out of your price range.
With a divorce. So
yes. Yeah, no kidding. Oh, I know that feeling.
fun to dream, though.
Listen,
Yes.
we all have dreams, and that's
Absolutely.
one of them.
Yeah, I think we all see. I think we all see that one piece that we know would be perfect to own, but is also probably going to ruin a little bit of our lives if we spend the money on it.
Exactly.
I need a car, but I want this comic.
Exactly. Yeah, right. I need this car, but I really want this comic book. The car can wait.
Yeah, I need to eat this week, but I've really got to go see this show. Like
Yeah, right.
I've never had that happen before. Yeah. So, all right. So being in the world of wrestling, being in the world of wrestling art and things, you talked a little bit about the guns and that situation. What are some other really like cool moments that you've had as maybe like a fan of wrestling being like, wow, I can't believe I'm doing this, or I can't believe I'm like working with this person?
I'd have to say when Chris Jericho came to Steel City Comic Con, I think that was 2014 maybe. I'm a little fuzzy on the date, but he had a massive long line, as you can imagine.
Of course.
And had one of my previous Jericho pieces where it's a swap of Namor Submariner #1.
Okay.
And somebody brought that up for him to sign, and he just stopped everything and told his handler, who has this? Where's this guy? So somebody who worked for the show, he comes and gets me. He's like, Chris wants to talk to you. I'm like, what?
Right? Can you imagine? Jeez.
So I had like a nice little 10-minute conversation with him about it. Well, all these nice people are still waiting in line.
Yeah.
That's
He stopped
wild.
everything for me. So that was really cool.
That
was very cool.
that's
Getting
a
to
good
know
dream.
Kane, for example, that's another good one. I was really good friends with his agent that was repping him at the time. So it was pretty good access there. The first time I met Britt Baker, that was really positive. That was really cool.
Nice.
I don't know. They all kind of blur together. It was nice to. I had on occasion to meet Bret Hart several times. The Young Bucks, I've met them. I've been a guest at all the Starcasts. So
Cool.
Those type of events. There's a little bit more. It's a little bit more personal, a little bit more close. So,
Right.
and wrestlers are like the blue collar celebrities.
Right.
They'll just walk. They'll walk around and mingle with like regular people. So
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's cool. Now, of course, we all met at the Hamburg Fieldhouse Legends Fest not too long ago. And as you know, they're going to be shutting down for wrestling next month's the last ever Hamburg wrestling event. Yeah. So the Hamburg Fieldhouse is renting out their space to like a car rental place.
Yeah,
next year.
something crazy. Whoever owns the building, and
December 23rd
like,
is the last wrestling show at Hamburg like ever.
oh man.
Ever.
So,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on the Hamburg Fieldhouse and how it's such rich in wrestling history?
I mean, that's where Piper snuck it with the coconut, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
There should be at least a plaque of that. So it was really, that was the first time I'd ever been there. I'd only ever seen it on TV.
Right.
I know they filmed the Saturday night's main event there a lot.
Yeah.
I think, didn't they? Yeah. So it was very special to see. It's just, I guess it's just a sign of the times where
Mm-hmm.
the people who own it are going to make more money renting it out to a car facility than
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
preserving its heritage.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, and like the building in Hamburg is from an era in time when, you had these great local buildings that, like WWF at the time used to run, Hamburg, Allentown, all these tiny little towns in Pennsylvania, Danville, all these areas that they used to run consistently. And, it's kind of like, it's almost like when they stopped running wrestling at the Sportatorium in Texas. Like, how do you do that? Like, how do you
Right.
just ignore wrestling history and just say, well, we're done? It's sad, but we still have certain things that remind us of the history of wrestling. We have art. We have things that memorialize, these people in these times. So it's we still have a little bit of the history left, but it is kind of sad to see something like that, go to the wayside.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's one of the reasons that I do what I do is like, at first it was a great gimmick. And then I was thinking about, I was like, you know what? I'm kind of trying to tell wrestling history here.
Yeah.
So, because it's not, sometimes I'll do a piece and it's just about the person, like Stone Cold Steve Austin. That's the one that I did for Stone Cold is a takeoff of Iron Man. I think it's 126, which is Bob Layton doing the Tales of Suspense cover. We see him getting dressed in all these little boxes.
Right.
And so for me, it's like he's, Steve Weiser. then flipping him off. And that's about the character. But stuff like this, like the Hell in the Cell match, this is a piece of wrestling history.
Right.
That every wrestling fan knows. Every wrestling fan, whether you like these guys or not, the Hell in the Cell match.
Well, that's one of those matches where even if you're not a wrestling fan,
Yeah.
that match.
Everybody's heard.
Yeah, even wrestling fans or not, anybody who knows that Hell in a Cell match.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Or the slam heard around the world, WrestleMania 3.
Yeah, of course.
So.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, there's so many moments that just transcend wrestling, and so many characters that just transcend wrestling. It's like even now when you look at like everything that Marvel has been able to do in the last 10, 15 years, and you look at now you have people who aren't even comic book fans who have never seen one of the movies, but yet somehow know who Iron Man and Captain America and all these characters are.
Right.
And wrestling kind of parallels comic books so well in the same way that like you these people even if you're not a fan.
It was hard being an Iron Man fan when I was a kid because he was like a C-list character by then.
Yeah.
He never got any comeuppance.
Yeah.
And then finally, the MCU starts with him, and that movie was tremendous. It's still the best of all of them.
I don't think there could be any other movie that would set the stage like Iron Man set the stage for the Marvel Universe.
Mm-hmm.
There's like
Robert Downey Jr. owns that role. Nobody else
absolutely. It set the
that's...
tone for the whole series. It set the tone for the whole universe. And again, I don't think anybody can replace, like you said, Tony Stark other than RDJ.
Yeah, and that
good.
That basically was a resurgence of his career. Like that,
absolutely,
made him a household name again. That made him a superstar. And but it's again, the parallels with wrestling are so incredible because you look at guys like, Hulk Hogan. There's not a person that I can walk up to anywhere in life that doesn't know who Hulk Hogan is.
Yeah,
a wrestling fan or not. So there's just,
I think the same could be said for John Cena now.
Oh, of course, sure. Absolutely. He legit is like the superhero comic book come to life. Like the way he dresses, the way his character has been the last 10, 15 years. Like he is a comic book character just on the big screen.
And I would say the same for CM Punk. He's getting to that point where people who don't watch wrestling know who he is.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at just some of the the outlets that reported on his return at Survivor Series, I mean, you have the Fox News Channel talking about it.
Everybody did it.
The BBC talking about it. Like that's incredible that. Again, somebody like that can transcend an entire genre and just become a part of, pop culture and life as we know it. It's insane to me sometimes.
Speaking of transcending, let's stick with the comic books a little bit. How we think Cena and Hogan transcend wrestling. What comic character do you think transcends comics?
I mean, easily you can go with the big guns like Superman,
Of course.
Batman.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to think that Iron Man has transcended comics now.
Yeah.
Sure.
But any of these that, people will go and see movies and they'll buy merch, but they don't really necessarily need to have the comic book anymore. Spider-Man has definitely gotten that point, I think, with the Sony movies being as good as they are.
Yeah.
So, but the problem with that is that people will also get stuck into these things. Like for me, being an independent comic book artist, I ran into a lot of time where a lot of stores will just say, no, I'm sure your comic's good, but people just want Spider-Man and Batman. They don't care.
Mm-hmm. Right.
About anything else. So it makes it when pop culture things get to that point, it makes hard for anything else to break through.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's just like anything else, it's so tough if you're an independent trying to do anything, fighting against that idea of, well, if it's not, a big Marvel character on the screen or whatever, people aren't going to care. So it makes it that much, it makes the grind that much harder.
It does.
It's a shame because there's a lot of great stuff out there that people just don't take the time to read. I mean, the independent comic world is just rife with, great stories and, people really, really talented people putting stuff out there. And people are not getting the chance to see it like they should be, which is a shame.
With the advent of crowdfunding, we're really seeing a growing trend with independent comic book creators who stick with it. That's the biggest problem, is sticking with it.
Yeah.
They stick with it and they'll actually cultivate an audience. I started out originally, excuse me. You'll cut this part out.
No, you're good. It's all good.
No, we're all good.
It's fine.
When I started out, I was actually doing an independent comic book, a little black and white book called Melby Comics that nobody bought. Nobody bought it.
Right.
And so I lost a ton of money just like trying to make this thing happen. And one of the things that brought me back into the scene was I finally decided, okay, I'm going to swallow my pride. I'm going to do fan art.
Right.
And so I did drawings of Batman. I did Star Wars stuff. And eventually nothing really caught fire until I did the wrestling.
Yeah.
Once the wrestling caught fire, it became my niche, my little shtick.
Yeah.
And has really given me, and I'm very humble in admitting this, but I've gotten some notoriety now.
Yeah.
To where, I feel like my other projects are going to get more eyeballs on them now.
Yeah.
I was actually taken aback when you asked about Dinosaur Man first.
Yeah.
And I consider that a win.
Listen, man, just the name intrigues me. Like Dreaded it just sounds cool. Like Dreaded Dinosaur Man. Like tell someone to watch that and they're like, what is that? What?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. Like,
yeah.
And it amazes me because I'll do conventions and people will ask about it out of nowhere, and I'm like, oh yeah, I haven't published a new episode in a while because I got to pay my bill.
Oh. Yeah.
But hopefully, Lord willing, one day he will pay my bills, and who knows what will happen.
How far into his lore or his character are you now?
I've pretty much gotten things pre-scripted to where I know there's a definite end that I want to reach, and there's a lot of different stories that I want to tell in between. So, for example, right now I've got a point in the webtoon that I want to get all the characters to before I do a print book. Which is why I keep putting the print book off, because I haven't got the webtoon to that stopping point.
Gotcha.
Because I kind of want to keep that as a free onboarding place for new fans
Yeah.
to come learn about the character, learn about how they, him and Spaz and all these characters interact with each other, and then they can seek out the print books or the video game or whatever.
Right.
Speaking of Spaz, I did have a plushie made.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Hell yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
I mean, there's a whole story as to why he has an extra arm sticking out that I haven't gotten to tell yet.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll find out at some point. So
yeah, that's one of the things too with younger creators that I try to tell them is that you got to have a mind for going beyond just the story you want to tell. You want to,
right.
What do the toys look like? What does the cartoon look like? Do you have a plan for that with your story wise? A lot of people, they'll only think just in the comic, just in the next issue. They don't have a large, long scope.
Right.
It's not an easy thing to do, but it's if you want your material to have some longevity, you've really got to think in these broader terms as well.
Right.
So when you're doing something like Dreaded Dinosaur Man, how easy or how hard is it for you to really kind of build that mythology and build out that world? Because like myself and I have some other close friends where we're very heavy into the tabletop role-playing world, and we do a lot of our own game. We make a lot of our own games, and so the majority of that, really putting it together, is this idea of sort of world building and putting together this sort of universe in which these people live. So how easy or hard was that for you to really kind of flesh all that out?
Well, it's kind of hard for me to quantify it in terms of an easy or a hard, because a lot of the lore with me, I kind of see movies in my head.
Right.
So if something triggers that process, and usually it's the music of Blind Guardian for Dinosaur Man.
Nice.
They're a European metal band, and a lot of their stories, they have a whole album that's all inspired by Tolkien.
Right.
They follow these legendary like highs and lows of storytelling. So it's kind of a muse for that world for me. And other than that, it's like all the characters' personalities live in my head. So I can kind of judge, like, okay, if I want this story to happen, I want to tell this moral lesson, I want to show this thing to these characters. I kind of got a good idea how they would respond in those situations. So a lot of it is just not even written down. It's just kind of this amorphous direction that I want to go to.
Right.
And then when I actually sit down and I start drawing it out, like, okay, here's the idea, the last thing I do is come up with a dialogue. I don't even have any of that pre-written.
Oh, yeah.
No, but I know the scenes that I want to happen.
Right.
So I kind of get those down first and then kind of sew things together.
Gotcha.
Which is how Ditko and Stan Lee worked.
Okay, but there you go.
There was never a script for those early Ditko ones.
Right.
Stan would have kind of an idea in his head. He would have his secretary tell Steve, because they didn't get along very well at all.
Right.
Ditko would just draw the pages, and then Stan would get them and like, okay, here's how I'm dialoguing this and narrating it.
Yeah.
Right.
It was kind of a backwards approach, but it worked for them, and that's kind of how I feel most comfortable too.
I was gonna say they did a pretty good job with that. They did all right for themselves.
Yeah, they did pretty good.
Yeah, you're in good company how you're doing things. That's cool.
So yeah, with what you were talking about with the role playing games, I mean, you just, I guess at the end of the day, you really need to have a purpose that is in your principles to what you're going to do with it. That way, because if you have your own principles in the story deeply in there somewhere, you're going to be passionate about it.
Yeah.
And you need to have that passion, because you're not always going to be enthusiastic or have the energy.
Sure.
But if you have that passion, you'll never put it down permanently.
Yeah. So
very cool.
With that process, how do you figure out in your head the process of molding these wrestlers with these comic book ideas and like mashing them together? Like, how did you come up with the Fantastic Four Horsemen? Like, how did you come up with these ideas that it worked so well?
Well, with that one, it was the title, Fantastic Four Horsemen. Pretty easy to put.
Oh yeah, of course.
The challenge was finding a vintage cover that people would recognize that would work, and I ended up doing the Black Bolt, first Black Bolt with him spread out like this.
Right.
This very iconic image. There was some floating heads, so that could be the rest of the boys.
Yeah.
With Flair in the middle, and it just works. A lot of it is wordplay, like Hulk 181, the Incredible Hulk, the Incredible Hulk Hogan. Okay, let's find something that works. Hulk and Wolverine, that's a huge size comparison. Let's do Andre the Giant and Hulkster, WrestleMania 3. Other things are a little bit more tricky, and sometimes I end up coming up with my own design that's kind of in the feeling of the old 60s and the Silver and Bronze Age storytelling covers. The Brett Baker versus I'm having a brain fart. The St. Patrick's Day match.
Oh, Thunder Rosa.
Oh yeah,
yes,
yeah.
Thunder Rosa. Thank you. Sorry,
Thunder Rosa.
That first match between the two of them was so iconic and so
good.
But I couldn't find something, so I made my own thing, kind of based on some of the others, and that ended up being like one of my favorite pieces, with both of them kind of suspended in the air.
Nice.
Rings down below. You got Reba through a table in the background, because I know my fans, they look for those little Easter eggs and stuff.
Yeah. Right.
That's so cool.
What was the Easter egg, real quick, with Kane?
The Kane one is all the people who are in, because the Kane book is actually, so I've got it right here. Another favorite.
That's the one. Oh, it's so
it's
cool.
The first
I love it.
of the Vision. And it's hard to see, but for the silhouettes down here, I was actually purposeful in putting in Mankind.
Nice.
And a few other of the actual wrestlers, which were his debut opponents that he had big heat with. And then, of course, like with this one, the reason why I went with Kane, Big Red Machine, is it's already red.
Yeah.
There's already the smoke, the fire. It just works.
Yeah.
And one of my copycats out there, they did this same layout with Sting, and it just doesn't work.
Right.
Because they're not.
It doesn't work at all, because it's not.
They don't have the mindset that you have, sir.
There's a little bit of a secret sauce to finding stuff that actually fits the character or fits the narrative from pro wrestling with the book. Yeah. And I wish I could say there's an exact science to it, but maybe I'm really lucky or just a good enough eye. But so that's the story behind the Kane one.
Yeah, you're doing what you're doing because you get the feeling. You get that feeling like, hey, this is the right thing to do here. So, I mean, obviously it's working because your art is incredible and people really love it. So you're doing something right. If you have copycats, it means you're doing something right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm sure at some point we'll have some Opinion City copycats that are like City of Opinions.
City of Opinions. So when you do one of your pieces, now let's take the Phenom Undertaker that you've got on your shirt there. So when you come up with the concept and you're ready to do the art, how long does it generally take you to do a piece of art?
Usually inside of a week. I try to get them done.
Okay.
Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. This one here wasn't too complicated to get a logo styled in the same way. Right. But some of them, like I did a Becky Lynch with Sensational She-Hulk. It took me 2 days in Illustrator bashing up a Star Trek font to get the Sensational She-Hulk to look like the lady ass kicker. Yeah. I did with it. So sometimes the logo is the most challenging part.
Yeah.
And I'm a real stickler for likenesses. Right. Even though I'm doing them in like a 60s comic book style, it's still got to look like the person. Yeah. And that's another thing that irritates me, because you'll get, like for example, pre-COVID, I think it was pre-COVID, the AEW did something with DC Comics for E2E2. Okay, the likenesses were shit. Cody Rhodes' tattoo off of his chest.
Oh no!
Yeah, that's not
So
right.
that's what happens. You might get a talented artist, but they don't care about wrestling.
No,
Right.
of course not. They
So
don't.
they
No.
miss those details, and I think that's an insult to fans.
Yeah, you can see the passion when you do an art print because you can see that you put the effort in, the extra effort in to not only match the likeness, but like get everything right.
Yeah, because I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, yeah.
Wouldn't have ripped off the tattoo that reminds him of his father. Good grief.
Exactly. That's more important than the freaking his tattoo on his neck. Yeah, that
Yeah.
should be on. Yeah.
That's crazy. Awesome. So we've talked a little bit about your love of the comic books and wrestling and kind of mashing those up together. What are some of your other favorite things to do as far as like creating art? Is there something else? I mean, obviously, you talked about how the wrestling and the comics is really your bread and butter now, but what kind of things do you like to do besides the wrestling art?
Well, I'm also a massive weeb. I really enjoy the animes, and so I do a lot of anime art. I work in the style of the shows, and I work for a lot of American voice actors who do the localizations for the shows coming from Japan.
Oh, cool.
So I've got a pretty good roster of voice actors who I do art for on a regular basis,
Nice.
so that when they go to shows and do signings, they've got something to sign.
Cool.
And I really love that. That's a lot of fun.
What got you into the manga art world? Like, what is it? Just the art style that got you hooked on that?
I think the art style came secondary to the stories.
Right.
And this is one of the things that a lot of people who don't get anime and don't get manga don't understand why it's so popular now and Western comic books aren't in this country.
Right.
Is because the people there care about the stories.
Yeah.
They care about honoring the characters. One that everybody knows, My Hero Academia.
Yeah.
We'll never have to worry about them rebooting My Hero Academia. It'll never happen.
Yeah.
They will tell the story until they have no more story to tell,
Yeah.
or they've told their best stories, and then it will end, and they will move on to something completely new.
Right.
Whereas, how many times do we have to have Batman's origin on the theater?
Yeah. Every single
Right.
time.
Right.
It's like,
And
how many
times have
movies
they been
do we
done?
have that have the same exact death of his parents every
And how
yeah.
single
does comics
time?
Matter? Does story and comics matter here? No, it stops selling. They'll put out a new number one because
Yep.
statistically, the first issue always makes good money,
Right.
and they'll reboot and restart the story. There's no honor, no passion for those characters, and fans see that. And that's
Yeah.
why they gravitate to anime and manga, because they see the passion, they see the stories, they connect with the characters. These characters mean something to them.
Right.
And a corporate slob doesn't see that, doesn't
Yeah.
care. So,
Yeah.
so that's what really got me into anime and manga was the storytelling. And then just, it feeds my creative ADHD where I can't work in any one style.
Right.
So,
Sure.
I'll do wrestling stuff in like a 60s John Romita Jr. style and then switch over to, something like Berserk or
Right.
Fairy Tail or,
Right.
or JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Those are stylistically, the shape languages are just fun to play with. So,
Now with manga books, I know you start from the back and then go to the front.
yeah, they read left to right instead of
left to
right to
right, yeah.
left or
Is that a
whichever.
weird thing to go from like reading a American style book to them, like going from front to back and back to front?
It's jarring at first. It's something you definitely want to give yourself time to get used to.
Right.
But once you get used to it, it's fine.
Right.
When you walk in a bookstore and you pick up something out of the manga section and you're like, what is wrong with this book? Like,
Right.
what am I
Exactly.
doing wrong? I had no idea what manga or anime was until one day I remember it was like, I don't know, it was like 3 a.m. or something, and I think it was the Sci-Fi Network had Akira on.
Yeah.
Like I saw that, and that was it. I was in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see something on such a massive and grand scale like that, and you're like,
Yeah.
this is just the coolest stuff.
Yeah, no, and I grew up with Captain Harlock
Yeah.
In the 70s. Him and I are kind of the same age. I think he was 77. I was born in 78. So,
Right.
but I can remember I was the only one in my small hometown that rented that VHS.
Nice.
VHS. Watching it over and over again. Fell out of it for a little while because it wasn't easily accessible. And then I got older and had cable TV, and suddenly there's
Right.
Toonami with Gundam
yes.
Wing
Dude,
and Big
Toonami
O and
as a
Dragon Ball
kid
Z and
was the best. Toonami was a kid was like the
Toonami was
favorite.
so good.
I would stay up so late just to watch all of Toonami. I wouldn't care.
Yeah.
I wouldn't care
Yeah.
because it was so good. It was so good. Like when it initially died, because it's been back like 4 times now. I think everyone and their best friends were just like, "Oh man, you just lost. You just lost
just
like
the death of Saturday morning cartoons here, you know."
yeah, I
So,
know, right?" What were some of your favorite mangas or some of your favorite animes now?
now, huge Demon Slayer fan.
Okay.
Berserk. Very big into, I like the Isekai stuff. I like Konosuba. Just the derpy, derpy, funny, sexy girl stuff.
Yeah.
I got, to my wife's chagrin, I got a bunch of these statues.
My wife's chagrin.
But let me tell you about her. She loves Haikyuu, the volleyball one.
Okay, so there you go.
She's watched all the way through several times. She's looking forward to the movie. And I had to break the news to her that she's full of weeb now because she actually bought statues of those characters on her own.
You gotta break it down for her. Listen, you're in us now. You're with us. You're with us.
Crossed the line there.
You are one of us. Yeah. Oh man.
Chainsaw Man. That's a damn good one.
Oh, Chainsaw Man is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chainsaw Man.
Great storytelling there. And one of the things that I want to do in my comic books here in the West that they do over there is they cater to so many different genres.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
In the golden age when comics came out, there was sci-fi, horror, crime, romance comics. And then the superheroes just kind of overshadowed everything.
Yeah.
But I think we can get back to that. We can get back to more nuanced genres of storytelling because, Food Wars.
Yeah.
If you know that show, you know why I bring it up because it's like, what the hell did I just watch?
Exactly. Exactly.
But it's got such a huge fan base, It's
it really does. It really does.
There's a new one that I still want to watch that my wife thinks is stupid. And when I say that, you'll think it's stupid too. But this person gets reincarnated as a vending machine.
That's
what is this? I need to know.
What's it called?
I forget what it's called.
We're gonna have to look it up.
That sounds amazing.
Google vending machine anime and it'll come up.
That sounds just so absurdly good. Like I would watch it just for the name. I would yes. Sign me up.
That with our stories here in the States, we just need to do absurd.
Just absurd.
Stuff.
Just out there. Just out in left fields. Like. So, you've shown us some of your comic book collections. What's on that shelf over there behind you with all those figures? What's some of that stuff on?
Well, let's see. The T-Rex from Dino Riders.
Nice.
That was my 37th birthday present to myself. It shipped all the way from Australia.
Oh, wow.
That's so
Jeez.
Cool.
I got some Inhumanoids back there. There's Decompose, and on this wall is Tendril up at the top.
Nice.
Some G.I. Joes. I'm a huge fan of the G.I. Joe Battle Android Trooper. Oh, shit.
Well, that one's gone. Off the list.
This one's chest plate won't stay on, but I mean, this was my favorite figure growing up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's very cool.
That's awesome.
Focus, damn you.
Focus, damn you. It won't focus. It's fine. I can see it. We can see it for the most part.
Yeah.
So I collect every iteration of that. I also collect every iteration of Shockwave from Transformers.
Yes, I've loved Transformers for so long. But see, I'm a G1 kid. I love G1, and I also love. I grew up on G1 and Beast Wars. Those two were my favorites.
Beast Wars was good. I especially
Beast Wars was so good.
Scream episode.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
My
did you
favorite
ever?
plane, the Cobra Night Raven, is sitting here.
Okay.
Got some Masters of the Universe. Got the
That's
I
up Ralph's
see it.
alley.
Yep.
That's up Ralph's alley.
Yeah,
That's
I see it.
That's
got
Ralph's alley right
the
there.
Ninja Turtles. I'm still working on the Ninja Turtles because
Nice.
Oh
I
yeah.
want the ones with all the soft, squishy heads.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
Those are
That's
the
right.
ones.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch the Headmasters series from Transformers,
Oh,
the
yeah.
Japanese?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
So
good.
good, man.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
I love it.
And Transformers Victory and Master Force.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
Japanese stuff was so awesome.
It's one of those things
Very
where we, kind of not take, but like take what they do and like make it our own. Like for instance, I'm a big Power Rangers guy. I'm a huge right here. I'm staring at it. Huge Power Rangers guy.
Nice.
But they had to just take from Sentai Ranger and bring it to America. But Sentai Ranger by itself is so good, so good. Like
There's a lot of those shows like Digimon and Pokemon.
yeah.
You wouldn't want your kids to see the actual full.
Oh no, no.
Yeah. No. Yeah. There's some wacky stuff there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you a fan of He-Man Revelations?
I honestly haven't seen it. It's one of those things where it's like,
Okay.
I don't want to be disappointed,
Right.
so I don't want to put the time into it.
I got you. So I will say this. Revelations was great for what it is. I'm glad they're continuing the story, but
Right.
I honestly think that the 2002 Mike Judge Productions series that was on Cartoon Network is 1,000 times better.
Throwback and a half.
Nothing
Wow.
against Kevin Smith or what he's doing,
Woo.
but if you're a He-Man fan, the 2002 series is a reboot of the 80s cartoon, but it's done in a style that would be accessible to the fans who were fans of the 1980s series. Like
Right.
they're now adults and they want stories that are more serious in nature. It's
Yes.
less,
Yeah.
Goofy and
No,
can't
I'm with
be
you.
like
Like
the
the
80s.
2002, they really got into the lore a lot more.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's another one, like the 2011 Thundercats. Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
Why hasn't somebody picked that up and finished it?
That series was
yeah.
incredible, and there's
So good.
There's a podcast out there where the producers of the show talk about what all their plans were for the next season of that, and some of the stuff they had planned was just incredible. The way they told that story and how they kind of took the idea of everything and just
Yeah.
changed it just a little bit. It was
Just
so
enough.
it was so inventive and so ingenious the way that they did it. Just the little twists and turns that these are characters that but we're presenting them in a different way. It totally made sense.
Yeah.
Same thing with the 2002 He-Man series. They just you could tell that there were people that really cared about the show that were working on it because like you said, the lore was there. They delved into it a lot. The good thing about He-Man Revelations is, Fisto's there. So,
Fisto.
but you get to see characters that you get to see characters that. Well, listen, you get to see characters that you haven't really gotten their due. But yeah, okay.
Oh,
We're
yeah,
getting
no,
off on a
I
tangent
know
here.
all the characters that haven't gotten their due because some of the toys I'll probably pick up because they look really good. Like my favorite Motu character. Come on.
Oh no.
Is Web Store for crying out loud.
Oh yeah.
I had when
Nice.
I was growing up, He-Man was my jam. I had all the characters. I had everything. Such cool stuff. And what's great about that is, the TV series was built off of the toys. So
Right.
it was made to sell the toys. So look at how cool that is.
That's so cool. I love that. That's
Like-
awesome.
As a kid, how could you not be in love with that? Like
Right?
how could that not be? Like you had one of my favorites was Snout Spout. Because you could actually
Snout
shoot the
Spout,
water
yeah.
out of his elephant nose.
Yeah, snout spout.
Like so cool.
Skunkor, who really stunk. I mean,
Yes.
Yes.
I have a friend whose favorite He-Man character of all time is Stinkor, and the 2002 series gave Stinkor his due. Let me tell you, they told a great Stinkor story. So, yeah.
Well, that's one of the things that I do with Dinosaur Man, because I'd be lying if I didn't say it was heavily influenced by Masters of the Universe.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of '80s influence in general, but visually, there's a lot of He-Man reference to it.
Right.
That's awesome.
And, you know, it's a love letter to what I grew up with.
Right.
And it was it was a couple of years ago in Columbus. I had a prototype for an action figure made up. I didn't have any print books. I had some posters, and I had dads with their kids like, when can I buy this?
Yeah.
It dawned on me, I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for young kids that didn't get to grow up with Saturday morning cartoons.
Right.
And it just gave me a whole new enthusiasm for creating the story.
Yeah.
So
that's great. So, what kind of stuff do you have coming up? Are you doing any shows coming up? Where can people see you?
My shows are going to be tapering off. I'm going to be doing. I'll be in Lakeland, Florida, in January for Central Florida Con.
Okay.
I'm going to try to make it back up to Fairbanks, Alaska, for the Alaska Comic Con up there, and then I'll be in Lexington, Kentucky, for the Lexington Comic and Toy Fest in March. And then from then, I'll be at Squared Circle in Indianapolis for sure.
Nice.
That'll be my first wrestling-centric show, and I'm going to try to get out to WrestleCon.
Yep.
But for the most part, I've got 3 different comics that I'm drawing now that aren't dinosaur.
Okay.
I've got AR-13L, the little Mermaid that I'm working on that we need to get done by next year.
Yeah.
If you go to littlemerkmaid.com, you'll find that book, and it's basically a parody of Ariel, the Little Mermaid. Only she doesn't want to. She wants revenge.
Oh wow! Oh man!
Mercs and guns.
I feel like that's such a double-edged sword because
awesome.
Oh,
my wife would hate that and somehow love it at the same time because she is the
biggest
Little Mermaid fan.
A lot. And that one's coming with a secondary book, a mini comic for Cocaine Shark that I'm working on.
Oh my god!
I love it.
Cocaine Shark. Oh man!
And I'm also working on the follow-up to our hit Roddy Piper Kilted Avenger. So the next book is starring the British Bulldog.
Oh, okay.
UK Defender, and it's going to continue the story.
Yeah.
Because we're doing like a shared universe thing with wrestlers as superheroes.
Right.
You can learn more about that over at
That's amazing.
I have to tell you, the idea of a shared universe of wrestlers as superheroes, it warms my heart.
It sounds amazing.
That is, I am so excited that people like you exist and things like that exist. I'm serious. Like,
no, dude, that's just so
happy.
Cool, man.
Oh,
that's awesome.
Yep, there it is.
That's amazing, man.
All right, that's awesome.
Cartoon.
Oh, that's great.
Wow.
I love
That's so superhero by night. I love the intro because we got Hacksaw Jim Duggan to appear in the book.
Nice.
Oh, that's great.
And,
good old Hacksaw.
So Piper's doing this Jerry Springer style talk show.
Nice.
And
that's
Hacksaw
awesome.
comes out because he's eating a villain called the Stable robbed his pizza joint.
Oh man.
Oh,
so, and of course it ends with him having to beat up the bad guys on live TV.
yeah.
Of course.
Listen, I don't
naturally.
I don't say this lightly, but you, sir, are a national treasure. This is incredible. We've got all your information on the bottom there. We've got at Dreaded Dinosaur, your socials. We got your link tree. Obviously, erichodson.com. I'm sure everybody can find everything they need to there. littlemerkmaid.com.
Yep.
That's another one. So, I got to tell you, man, is anything else you want to plug before we wrap things up?
Well, I am running a sale right now.
Okay.
It's my annual holiday box sale where you get random wrestling prints.
Okay.
So you get 10 random wrestling prints for $60.
Nice.
It's a limited quantity. There's only 20 of them left. If you go to erikhodson.com and click buy prints, it'll be right there on the front page.
Right.
And it's a good way for new people to break into collecting my covers. Sure. And it's my way of giving back to all my fans every year for Christmas. So.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
So, make sure that you are following Erik on all the socials. Make sure that you're checking out his website and all the really amazing stuff that he is doing. And I got to tell you, man, this was a lot of fun. We were very excited to have you on, and really knowing your wealth of knowledge, there's a ton of other things that we can talk about. So we'll have to have you on again, and
love to have you back on for sure.
So many things you're into that I would love to just chat about. So we will have to have you on again at some point. I know you're a busy guy with all your comic book stuff going on, but hopefully we'll get a chance to see you WrestleMania weekend somewhere.
Oh yeah,
yeah, awesome.
Oh yeah, and I get that Kane print.
Yeah, that's very cool.
I'm gonna if I get into WrestleCon, I'm gonna make sure that I have one of those in metal, just for you to come up to my table and get it.
Right on,
nice.
Right
very
on.
Cool. Awesome.
I won't put it on the table. I'll keep it back.
You just put it in the back, like
very
here.
Cool. All right, well, guys, it has been so much fun talking to you, Erik.
Yes,
we want to thank you for coming on and joining us. Of course, this is our Patreon exclusive podcast, so all of our Patreons are getting the pleasure of listening to you, and we'll have to have you on. We'll have to have you on again to talk all the wonderful things that you're into. But again, thanks for joining us this evening. It's been great talking to you, and we want to thank all of our Patreons for supporting us. And we will be talking to you guys very soon. Thanks again.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Hey, this is ABJ of the ABJ Podcast, and you're listening to the Opinion City Wrestling with Live series exclusively on Patreon. Enjoy.